Hey guys, it's Matt here, and today I'm doing another episode of Matt Rants. And today I'm talking about 5 characters that I think should be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, hopefully in the next DLC pack. Now, I know that there's going to be a chance, once you see this list, that some of these characters might have no chance of making it in, but darn it, they're characters that I think should be in, and that's what's important here. I'm not talking about relevance to gaming history. I'm not saying that they're more important than characters you would want in the game. I'm just saying I would like them in the game, and I'm going to tell you why, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But before we begin, I want to mention that I'm talking about these characters in name order because it's easier that way, not because I think one is more or less important than the other. Again, want to mention this before I get all this stuff in the comment section saying like, hey, why are you saying that X is more important than Y or Z? And I'm not. So the first one we're talking about is Crash Bandicoot. So, I love me some Crash. I've been playing Crash, I'm 26 right now, so I've been playing it since I was 6 or 7. So that is nearly 20 years of Crash. Now I haven't kept up with a lot of the newer installations of Crash, but I played Crash 2, 3, and even a little bit of 1 back on the PS1. I even played a Crash 2 demo, and it completely blew my mind at the time. So, I love Crash, and I feel like he's been around for so long that it just makes sense. Again, not talking about it completely from an importance perspective, but I do think that generally it does make sense. And also, another thing that I think about, just personal criteria, have one of their games, right? Anyone on this list, have one of their games been on a Nintendo console before? Because for the most part, even if it was a spin-off, a lot of the characters in Smash have had at least one game on a Nintendo console or handheld. So in this case, I know that people, even to this day, probably still think of Crash as a Sony exclusive character, even though the rights are currently owned by Activision. Still, they think of him that way. You know, he should have been on the PS1 Classic. I even believe that as well. So I totally get that. However, starting from Crash Wrath of Cortex, which is actually the 4th Crash Bandicoot game, he has been on not just the GameCube, but even on the Xbox at times for years. And even once the GameCube is discontinued, he does have some games on the, not only the GBA, but also the Nintendo DS as well. I believe one of the DS games was actually Japan exclusive, but still, he isn't just only a PlayStation character, a Sony character, and also, even with the newest Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, something that I thought was only going to be released on the PS4, was not only released on the Xbox One and PC, but also eventually released on the Nintendo Switch. So he is currently, in some form or another, on Nintendo's newest console, and funnily enough, he wasn't even on the PSP or the PS Vita. There were ways to play older Crash games on those systems, but there was no exclusive Crash game on either system. And if I'm wrong, correct me in the comment section down below, but I know my Crash, if there was one, I'm pretty sure it must have been Japanese only, because I don't remember one exclusive. Perhaps a port of another game that came out around the same time, but there were no exclusive games when funnily enough, for the Game Boy Advance, there were a few exclusive games for Crash that were never released anywhere else. Also, he's just a really fun character. I think would bring some great wackiness to the roster. I know we have a lot of wackiness already, but it would be fun, and I don't think he has any powers necessarily that could make him too OP. Of course, that depends on how he is, how his powers are implemented in the game itself, but I don't believe he does anything that would really make him, just come out the gate and be this completely new OP DLC character that no one could really wrap their minds around. And the next character I think should be in Smash Ultimate is Shadow the Hedgehog. So, my edgy 13 heart bleeds for this, and I just listen, let me explain. So, I know that we have Sonic, okay? I get it. I get that we have Sonic, but I want Shadow. And look, yes, he might be just kind of an echo fighter, and he might not, he might come off that way, and etc., but I would like Shadow, please. So, I got my first experience with Shadow. You would think it would be from Sonic Adventure DX on the GameCube, and that was around the same time, sure, but I actually played the Shadow the Hedgehog game on the PS2, and I think it's a lot of fun. Also, the game was released on the GameCube as well, so it also has that Nintendo tie-in in that way as well, and I know that there are a lot of people out there that are like, oh, that Shadow the Hedgehog game, but how dare you? How dare you? It was fun. And he had a gun, and Joker has a gun. Why can't you give me Shadow with a gun? Like, just make him like that version of Shadow the Hedgehog, just constantly screaming for Maria. I don't even know who Maria is, but I just want him to be like, oh god, I'm so edgy, and have a gun. Like, why can't we have Joker in the game. Just give me Shadow with a gun. Why not? it would just, I mean, again, I thought that game, and some people said that it was over the top, you know, why would he have this, and yada yada, but that's why I liked it so much. Also, to be fair, I liked the game because it had all of these different endings, and there were a lot of different ways to kind of get to those endings, so it did make me want to replay it, and I kept on replaying it. So to be fair, I might like the game more than I like Shadow, but still, I want to see Shadow. I think it would be fun, sort of. And I know people are going to tell me that he's an assist trophy, and give me both. All right, I can have a team of all Sonics versus a team of all Sonics. I'll take 2 Shadows, please, and thank you. Leave the tails on the side. I'm fine with just the Shadow. Thank you. And the next character is Sora from Kingdom Hearts. So, I really enjoyed the Kingdom Hearts series. Sadly, I haven't been able to play any of the newer ones, but I do have a lot of different spin-offs of Kingdom Hearts as well in my collection. I have played those, funnily enough, even though I've never beaten Kingdom Hearts 2, so I gotta go back and do that. Kinda odd that I haven't done that yet, but sadly, I haven't played Kingdom Hearts 3, but I can catch up because my friend Tristan Walter, and also contributor to the channel, actually lent me Kingdom Hearts, the story so far. So definitely need to pick that up and play that because it does look like a lot of fun, and I do want to get back into Kingdom Hearts and play Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, I will admit, sadly, to a certain extent, this does not meet my criteria that I mentioned earlier because there is no Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Nintendo Switch, and it seems like there isn't going to be one for God knows how long, if ever. And there also is no Kingdom Hearts, the story so far, for the Nintendo Switch. Which, if you don't know, you just hear me saying words, that just sounds like a bunch of word salad to you. It's all of the different collections of Kingdom Hearts remastered for the originally on the PS3, then on the PS4. So 1.5, 2.5, and 2.9. So that has all of the games collected, some of them sadly only done as animated films, but still, they're all collected together in this collection story so far. So that was released, of course, in preparation for Kingdom Hearts 3. So yeah, none of those seem to be coming to the Switch. 3 doesn't seem to be coming to the Switch, but we do have Kingdom Hearts releases that have been put out on Nintendo handhelds throughout the years, and some of you might go, really? You're going to bring up Chain of Memories? But not just Chain of Memories. There's Chain of Memories, there's X amount and a half days. I forgot how many days. There were a lot of days in that game. Also, we have Recoded as well, and we also have Dream Drop Distance. So there actually are a lot of games, and Dream Drop Distance, in my mind, wasn't that long ago. You're going to see the date on the screen right now, and I'm going to have an existential crisis when seeing it when editing this video, but in my mind, it just came out like 2 years ago, maybe 3. I'm really hoping I'm right, but I have a feeling I'm going to be very, very wrong. And I know what some of you are going to say, but Matt, don't we have enough characters with swords in the game already? And my response is, not only no, but also he has a Keyblade, and that's not a sword, so don't at me about that. It's a sword. It's not a sword. It's not a sword. It's not a sword. It's not a sword. It's a Keyblade, okay? It's a Keyblade. Blade is in there, sure, but let's forget about that. All right, you wouldn't stick a blade in your heart, okay? It's a Keyblade to you. It's a key to your heart. It's not a blade. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that whole thing. All right, my argument is correct. It is a key that he wields. Look, he's really cool. I like him. I don't know what version of Sora we're gonna have, but it would be nice if we actually got him in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Again, talking about some of these other characters as well that we've brought up so far, including Sora, been around for over a decade. I mean, Sora's been around since 2002 already. You know, I'm gonna start hyperventilating because that was actually 17 years ago. But it's true. He's been around for a very long time. So many different games, so many different systems. To me, it just makes sense, especially as a character who started off, you know, as a video game exclusive. Why would he not be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? And the next character we're talking about is Travis from No More Heroes. Now, I know that he's a bit more adult. I get it, okay? But we already have Bayonetta. We have Solid Snake, who, if he was not confined to the rules of a tournament, would be snapping people's necks. You never see it coming. And speaking of you never see it coming, we have Joker from Persona 5. And Joker is a gun. And Bayonetta also has guns. So, and again, I'm hoping if Shadow gets in it, he would also have a gun. So we have a lot of characters with guns, with bombs, and not like the cutesy bombs that go boom with the Japanese sound effect. No, we have Solid Snake in this game. Why could we not have Travis? And I know he gets a little sweary. I get it, all right? Maybe you don't want to Ned Flanders his swears. I hear it. I hear ya. but it's not like we don't have other people that act as assassins on the roster already. In fact, I'm pretty sure that Isabelle is an assassin. It's just that mayoring is like her side gig or something. So I'm just saying he's a character that has not only been around for more than a decade. Again, we have another character more than a decade. He's also almost been exclusively on Nintendo consoles. And I say almost because he started off on the Nintendo Wii. We did have a port, I believe, of his first or second game that was on the Wii for the PS3. But even if you want to throw that one out as an outlier, like, no, it's Nintendo only, don't count that, please don't count that. A lot of people are telling me, please don't count that. But we do have the newest version of No More Heroes, the newest game in the series, which is acting as like a 2.5 because it's technically not 3. I believe it's called Travis Strikes Again. We do have that out, not just on the Nintendo Switch, but we also have it coming to the PS4 and I believe the PC as well. So that means that he's not necessarily exclusive, sure, but his games are rooted in Nintendo. And obviously Nintendo hasn't just been, just for kids. Even since the NES, there were still a few games that weren't exactly for kids, even on the NES. So anyone who says, oh no, it's always been that way, yeah, Nintendo has tried, but still a few would sneak in every now and again. So I'm not saying that the Wii was their, first foray into more adult games, but definitely for some people at the time, teenagers like myself at the time, seeing that, even though I never played No More Heroes, Tristan did, a lot of other people who've been on those guys have, so they tell me, dude, you gotta play No More Heroes. And I looked at Tristan and I said, well, then I would like to borrow it from you. And then he just stopped asking about me playing No More Heroes. I mean, he lent it to me, but he kind of like grimaced a little bit. And yeah, 3 months later, I still haven't played it. I really should, because it looks like a great game. But he also lent me the story so far too, so yeah, I think I should, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to get Kingdom Hearts 3 anytime soon, so maybe I play some No More Heroes. Either way, I think that it would be a different type of character on the roster. Again, like I said, we still have adult characters already, but he's not too adult, I think, compared to what we already have. And also, he's a character, I don't know about his Japanese popularity, but I definitely see that he's pretty popular. At one point, I'd call him cult, but now he's definitely not a cult anymore character in the US. So it's a character that I've seen and I've enjoyed outside of the context of playing No More Heroes, but I would still love for him to get that representation in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And the last character on our list is Phoenix Wright from the game series known as Phoenix Wright. That's the name of the series. So, Phoenix Wright. I love Phoenix Wright so much, and the reason why actually is because of the fact that so even though I had Pokemon on the DS first, I believe, and I loved Pokemon as a kid, for some reason at the time, Pokemon Diamond didn't impress me. Now, nothing against Diamond, I've actually gone back and I really do enjoy it, but at the time, it didn't impress me. Maybe I was just burned out on Pokemon, so really wasn't into it, but when I got the chance to play Phoenix Wright, it blew my mind, the things that you can do with the DS. I could actually say objection into it. I could actually blow into it to blow off like dust on evidence and stuff like that. It was very weird and I loved it, and I loved the things that you could do with the original DS. I still have my original DS, and I still have the first copy of Phoenix Wright. Sadly, never got to play the second or the third one, but thankfully I just bought the HD re-release, which is actually what you're seeing on screen right now, and I can actually play the second and third one. So I'm definitely going to enjoy getting into those, and I just feel like looking at how long this character has been around, again, another one that's over a decade, and yes, he has been in other fighting games before, but that hasn't stopped Pac-Man from appearing in this game, because he also was in Marvel vs. Capcom, specifically the Vita version, I believe, and also, I believe earlier when I mentioned Crash, I'm pretty sure he was in PlayStation All-Stars. I haven't been able to play that game yet, but I'm pretty sure he was in it, and I'm pretty sure Snake was in it as well. So even though Phoenix has been in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, not the initial version. There was like an update that he was in. I bought the initial version thinking he'd be in it, and I was wrong. But either way, he is in that game, sure. But again, other people on the roster have been in other fighting games before, and they are here. So I do think that he could have a special place. Again, as kind of a weirder, wackier, out there character. A lot of the Smash roster, I would argue, is kind of out there characters you wouldn't really see fighting in a fighting game, but still, either way, I would love to see him on this roster. I think that he would bring something very different, very interesting to the roster, and also, I mean, mean, again, I mentioned just before, we have a version of his game on the Switch. Yes, it's a collection of 3 games, not a new one necessarily, but he's also lived on in Nintendo handhelds for a very long time. There are even some games that came out on 3DS that we never even got here in the US. So I mentioned this only because, like I mentioned earlier with my criteria of, oh, there should at least be one game released in the series of these characters that I've been talking about. He counts. He definitely does count. You can't say he doesn't. So even on new hardware, he's on the Switch, and he's even on the PS4 as well, which I found odd. I want to check that out eventually, because I just want to see how you could play the game with a PS4 controller. That's very interesting to me. But either way, these are the 5 characters that I think should be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So I lied. There's actually one more character, a bonus character that I need to see in Smash Ultimate before my inevitable passing within the next, hopefully, 80 years. I want to see Beautiful Joe. And the reason why I want to see Beautiful Joe, now if you don't know who Beautiful Joe is, that's fine. I get it. I'll talk about his game a little bit. So his franchise has been released on the PS2, the GameCube, the DS even. I actually have that game. I don't know how I got that game, but I do. The DS and the PSP. Now, sadly, it kind of went quiet there after those DS and PSP releases, but the game is essentially a B-Japanese superhero movie, but it got brought over to the US, I assume, because of the popularity of Power Rangers, and also Ultraman has been dubbed here as well. I don't think it's as popular as it may have once been, but it has been dubbed here and put on US television, and of course, movies like Godzilla. So a lot of these B-Japanese superhero movies, because those have been exported to the West, or imported rather. Still, either way, they've been brought to the West. They've done pretty well, so I think this video game worked. But the cool thing about this game is there are actually time slowdown mechanics. Now, I know some of you tournament players are probably groaning the second you hear like, oh god, it could stop time. But I just think that it would be a cool thing to try to implement and try to see how much of it is balanced correctly. And also the fact that he has a lot of other cool moves as well, and he even has a, I don't think he has a bike, but he also has a ship as well that he drives around in, or he flies around in rather. And there was even an anime as well you guys might have seen. It was actually on 4Kids. But it was an anime. It wasn't like a US production, and it did get, brought over here, was dubbed in English. I don't think it was actually that off compared to other 4Kids dubs that usually censored a lot of stuff. And all of that was in the early to mid 2000s, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just stops being talked about. And so he's a character that I really think, I know all of these characters probably have very little chance. Maybe the most chances Crash, maybe. But I really would enjoy seeing these characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. A lot of these characters mean something to me from, playing these games from when I was a kid, and now I'm trying to get back into some of them as well. So yeah, this is my top 5 list. Tell me what you think about it down below, and also, like I mentioned earlier, please tell me what characters you would like to be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You don't have to follow my criteria, but if you want to, it could make things more fun, but you don't have to. But either way, tell me what characters you would like down in the comment section down below. So, love you all, take care, and tune in next time for another episode of Matt Rants. Alright guys, so see ya!